All over again.
Hello, 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 hello. Welcome back. Welcome back. This is John O'Neill, and we're here on the Onealien Show. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for checking us out. Today, I've got something very special for you. I'm going to introduce my guest in a second. But before that, let's just do a little bit of housekeeping. I want to start this show with gratitude because I am so grateful to each and every one of you. A lot of you have logged on to our brand new website, theonealien.com. A lot of you have tuned into our social media at theonealienshow.com, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. We're all over the place. And I could tell because you are giving me a lot of feedback, and so I appreciate it. I read all the comments and I take it to heart. And so I just wanted to start today with some gratitude. I appreciate you, and I'm here because of you. I'm here for you. And today, not only am I here, but I brought a very special friend of mine, someone who I knew back in as the kids say today, back in the late 1900s. I met this guy. We had some mutual friends, and but that wasn't how he helped me out. That wasn't how he showed me his character and who he was. How that happened was on a trip up to the Seattle area. Where he actually, he's not from Seattle. He's from Tacoma, Washington. Sorry. Anybody from that area, they separated. It's very clear. He's not from Seattle. He's from Tacoma. Okay, and so one time I was visiting my mom in Anacortes. It's north of Seattle. I dropped in to SeaTac, and I didn't have a whole lot of funds. For some reason, the transfer that I needed to go through didn't go through quite as smoothly as I wanted. So I landed with little to no funds. I was waiting for the transfer to go through so I could, get around. So I didn't know what I was going to do. So I looked for a Western Union that was a little bit south, almost to Tacoma, but is in between SeaTac and Tacoma, right? I got to the Western Union. I'm trying to survive. I'm in a foreign land. It's wet. Okay, I got nothing but a bag. You know what I mean? And so I got there to the Western Union. The door was locked. The place was closed down. I'm in a foreign land. It's green. It's pretty. But man, I didn't know anybody. So somehow I got my friend Robert's number, and he was home, and he came and swooped me up, and he took me to his house. He gave me refuge in my time of need. And so he let me lay my weary head in his house. And the next morning I was able to get up and get my funds transferred through and be on my way. But it was an impact that I never forgot. You know what I mean? And so he's always just been around, and he's been part of a group of guys that we grew up with, quite frankly, and we're still friends to this day. How many friends do you have way back, high school, after high school, in your early 20s? Sometimes you develop relationships that last forever no matter what. Because this man and I, we've got our own journeys and our own lives, right? But they continue to intersect whenever the universe says it's time, basically, right? We've golfed together. Yep. He's told me about I don't want to steal his thunder. He might tell a story. But he's told me different things, and so he's a phenomenal guy. And I wanted to bring him on because he has the same heart as I do, and that is for helping people. So I'm going to get to his little bio. Bear with me, okay? We're going to run the clock. He's got this long bio because he's done so many things.
I was trying to hire somebody else to read it for you because I felt like I need a celebrity to do it for you. But since I couldn't get that celebrity, we're going to have you read the bio.
No doubt. It's not a celebrity voiceover.
Can we turn on fireworks while this bio's being read?
We got all the
any Maseratis want to race out here? Okay, go ahead.
We got everything going on. So this is Robert. This is Mr. Reed. This is Robert from Tacoma, Washington.
Yes, sir.
As I said, he's lived in Arizona for 20 years, right? Mm-hmm. So obviously he can still claim where he's from, but he's been here for a while. His blood is thin from our son. Yes. He's witnessed a haboob or two. He's seen some empty fields develop into large complexes and build. He's seen all the growth, right? During that growth, he has raised up from the womb 5 kids, 5 of them. He's got a whole hoot squad. He's got dunkers, and he's got a point guard. He's got the whole hoot squad. From 28 all the way down to 14 are his children.
Yes.
Happy children.
28, 23, 18, 16, and 15
Good
now.
Lord have mercy. I got a headache. Okay, but over the past 12 years, Robert has found himself in the opportunity to connect with thousands of business owners here in the Phoenix area. His connections have propelled Robert to be hired by major corporations like Microsoft, SRP, Cox, BB&B, BBB, not BEB, not Airbnb,
yeah.
BBB, right? To deliver presentations to their small business customers. His passion is making an impact wherever he goes. Robert loves, like I do, sharing his real life experiences for the purpose of helping business owners get clear on their goals and implementing systems and processes that help support them achieve those goals, right? We can write goals all day long, but if we don't have a system, if we don't have a way to get down the road, then what are we gonna do? We're gonna sit there and continue to look. How many of you have had goals sitting on the horizon for years? Right? I have. I've got a book that has been sitting on the horizon for like literally 20 years. And this year it's coming to pass, right? So Robert has helped these people not only develop, is it important for the goal to be achievable?
It's more important for the goal to be, I like start with step one. Yeah, it's achievable. I just wanted you to write a goal down.
Oh,
okay.
Look.
Just before we start talking about achievable, let's get to step -1, then there's 0, then there's step 1.
He's trying to get your head above water, okay? All right. And today, not only has he done all those things, but today Robert is a managing partner of Reed Kennedy Consulting Firm.
Yep.
He's the owner of World Reed Pavers and turf installation?
Yes.
I don't even think I knew that.
I know, you don't care.
I need a putting. I need a putting green in my backyard.
I needed to retract the part where you said we were friends. Can we delete, not repeat?
We're friends. I just don't know nothing about it.
Exactly.
I seen him in the parking lot. I shook his hand and said, will you be my friend?
Yeah, exactly.
Here he is.
We got this together in 30 minutes, y'all, this relationship we just made up.
Past stories and everything. I said, let's do something. I'll be in the rain 20 years ago. Here we go. And he's the director of B&I and the incoming president for Absolute Business Builders.
Yes.
Man, oh man. And his last line, it says, and a really handsome guy. See?
I was hoping to do
All
that
my friends are handsome.
that Anchorman thing where you just read it, you don't even just say it.
Oh no, I read it. That is Robert. That is Robert. Without any further ado, Robert has some things to share. You know what we do here? We talk about our journey. We talk about how we overcame. We talk about our awakening. We talk about our ascension. We talk about people who have impacted our lives. We talk about all the things that we go through as normal human beings walking the planet Earth. So Robert's got some stories to share. Is anybody ready? Robert?
Hey, first of all, I want to say I am utmostly, I just made up a word. I am utmostly impressed with what you got going on here, John. Seriously.
Thank you.
I mean, you're a brother, like really, in all seriousness, I've known you for 30 years, you know?
Yeah.
And relationships, the older you get, you can see how your parents used to always say, this is my boy from way back. Like they become a lot more important as time goes on because everything shrinks, right?
Yes,
so
sir.
there's a relatedness that you could have with a friend such as yourself. Like you said, I love how you said, our paths continue we see each other, don't see each other, then we connect on something, we don't connect on something. It's really a beautiful journey. And I'm really appreciative to be even able to come on here and actually share, my whole goal is to be able to, how can I articulate what my experience is in the most clear way to impact the most amount of people,
Yes,
right?
sir. Absolutely.
So my mind wants to think faster, and try to say everything that needs to be said. But I guess the first thing that needs to be said is like, I am very appreciative of this opportunity. Okay. So, because every time I get an opportunity to share the story, it represents it for me. Sometimes like just because you walk down the street, people say, how's your day? And someone will say, living the dream, but what about if you really live in a dream? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, if you really live in a dream, sometimes I don't even want to say it because I am living a dream because people might think I'm just saying it just to say it.
Right.
But the fact that if you really feel you're living a dream and you say it every time, that's the importance of it. So me having the opportunity, because we're human beings, right? I forget all of the greatness that has been provided to me in the last year unless I'm consistently sharing that story. So this opportunity to be here is just, of course, it's for the people out there can hear it, but selfishly it's for me because I have to maintain that amazing surprise and awe about how things come together when you're focused, and it might not come together the way you think it's supposed to come together, but it always comes together.
It always comes together.
So I'm going to start a year and a half because I'll just say it like I was born 48 and a half years old.
Okay.
So a year and a half ago, I was 48 and a half.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
So kids, my ex-wife, we got divorced in 2016 and she got breast cancer. And it was one of the most craziest things to me because, we did a gala for her, she raised money. She was going to deal with it naturally.
Sure.
And one of the greatest things to me, it was like one of those, there's certain things, I would say there's 4 things that have happened in my life that are like lines of demarcation. And I'm assuming that everybody has those things that you remember, those 4 things that they could be good or bad, where you kind of woke up and it was like your near-death experience. Well, that was one of them. Because it was a realization that, 2 things. It can be taken away really quick and it's right in front of my face.
Yes.
And the secondary thing is like, well, am I prepared for it? Right. Like, is my family prepared? Yes. Are my kids prepared? Have I prepared my kids? Have I put myself in a financial situation to where I would be able to provide for them if I'm not here?
Yes.
So all of those questions came up. And when those questions came up, I had 4 years of really working those things out. And one of the things that when they say there's God closed the door, opens a window, that experience brought a whole nother creativity. Because kind of like when you have a near-death experience, it's all of a sudden the things that you kind of said, I might do, it's not even a might anymore.
No,
you just
you have
do
an
it, right?
urgency to get it
and
done.
so it's not like you have to make a quantum leap, but it's just a tiny little shift in the way you think that makes things that I maybe would do it, but I'm 100% going to do it.
Absolutely.
So that was one of those things. It shifted me where, okay, I got to figure out something to do. So then I started a business where I could get profit share. So my consulting firm, we were doing monthly retainer. So I was like, well, I need to create, something for myself at the very end. And it was profit share. So I started signing up businesses where I'd help them with their systems and processes. And they would pay retainer and profit share. And that was great. That took care of that.
Sure.
But John, 4 years from that, I was sitting there there's something that happened with my ex about a year and a half ago. Broke my heart. Literally shook me to the core, and I was walking around with anger in my heart. And you know me, like, dude, anger to me, it destroys my soul. It literally is, if I can't express what's going on, and thank God, I think one of my strengths is that I'm self-aware enough to know that it's nothing about anybody else. I know it's about me, and I will be 100% responsible, and I want to be 100% responsible for everything that happens to me. So if someone has a conversation with me where I can take responsibility, I thank God that I know that that's my key to be able to have everything I want, right? So I couldn't shake this anger. And every year around my 50th, every year around my birthday, I always go to Mexico. So I'll go to Playa del Carmen. I usually go there for like 17 days, and I get away. And I knew that in 3 months, yeah, man, I got to do it like that, man. If I ain't vacation, it's like I got to get in the mode, right? So it was January where that happened of 2021, 2022. No, actually December of 2021 where this incident happened. And for 4 months, dude, I was so angry. I was hurt. And I meditate daily, man. It's like I could not shake this. And then I said, I'm going to go to Mexico. And my goal, Mexico, I set an intention that I was going to heal and forgive. Like, I don't know what it would look like, but I was going to heal and forgive.
Heal and forgive, okay.
And I went to Mexico, and I'm there for, Abraham. So we talk about Abraham Hicks. Like, Abraham Hicks. We've talked about that before, right? Like, you listen to Abraham Hicks?
Yep.
So one of the things was when I went there, I was like, my mind was clear. I was like, whenever I go there, I always go to the beach in the morning and I meditate before when it raises in the morning. And that's what I do. I'm closing my eyes because I want to slow down because I'm trying to get too ahead of myself versus really explaining what this was. Because a lot of times I'm not willing to even get present about what this was for me.
Take your time.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I would go to the beach every morning, and I really had an intention because I want to get really connected to the pain that I had because there was such a desire to not feel that anymore that I didn't know what it was going to look like, but I knew something was going to happen. So on probably the 10th day there, I'm in a cafe. And I'm just sitting there talking. Some woman walks up to me. We're sitting there at a cafe, and she has an English accent. And she says to me, and we start talking. And all of a sudden, I start talking about Abraham. And I'm like, you know what? I went to the Abraham cruise in 2016 that was in Cancun. She's like, oh, I was there too. And I'm like, oh, you were? She's like, yeah, I even got pictures. So she shows some pictures, and she pulled up a picture. She had a picture of me in the background.
No way.
At this cruise 6 years before.
No way.
No way in the world.
Yeah.
And so she does these coaching things. So we started talking and more, and I was telling her about what my commitment was.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 days before I left, I met this brother, Brian, who I'd met 3 years before. And he said, man, I have a desire to leave, move to Mexico and do all this stuff. So I seen him on social media, but I'm not on social media anymore, really. So I didn't see him as much. He reaches out to me out of nowhere and says, hey, man, I'm in Mexico right now. I'm like, no, you're not. He's like, yeah, man, I started this whole thing where I'm doing retreats around psilocybin retreats, mushroom retreats. And so he's going around and running these retreats. This brother is he's from Washington State, used to work at Alaska Airlines, and always had a desire to leave that. So he had created what he wanted to do. So he's like, so do you want to do a mushroom experience? And I was like, no, but I was like, yes. And he was like, you should just come over. So it was Thursday. I was going to leave out of town that Monday.
Okay.
Thursday, he's like, come over on Saturday. So just letting you know, on Saturday, so before I went on Saturday, Friday, I was just thinking about it. Me and my ex hadn't talked in 3 months. Like no words, like not even any words or anything like that. Okay. Saturday morning at 3:04 in the morning, I find out because I look at my Marco Polo. I wake up in the morning at 7:30 in the morning, I look at my Marco Polo. She sends a Marco Polo to me, just staring. Doesn't say a word for a minute, just stares, does not say one word. Marco Polo goes off. So I'm like, okay, something's going on. So I go to his house, and he has this whole thing dedicated to all this stuff with names, explaining what it does. Like, it's some deep stuff. Like, what I've learned is how much I don't know, right? Because every time I speak to somebody, it's a reminder that I don't know so many things that I have to be open to anything, because the key to knowing stuff is not to be resisting what you're getting.
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
Because everything is subconscious in terms of what we know and what we believe. So if I'm open to it, my subconscious, who I am, is going to make that right decision. The fear that we just don't trust that who we are will make that decision with the information.
Yes.
So I'm always going to be open to that. So he showed me that. So he's like, do you want to do something like you're playing around, or do you want to get something? I'm like, man, I want to get something. Like, this is the reason why I came here, right? So he gives me whatever that amount is. So I'm sitting there, and I'm looking through through this, when you're in somebody's house and they got an entertainment center, but it's a glass?
Yes.
Okay. And so I see this glass, and I'm looking at myself, and he's sitting next to me, right? And I can see myself, but then I start to see kind of not like me, and then something was really forcing me to have conversations. So I was saying things. I saw my ex, who I had all of that anger towards.
Yes.
And I see her face in that glass.
Yes.
And then I start feeling her talking, talking to me through me, saying, I'm sorry. In this world, I cannot connect to you. And the reason why I can't connect is because I'm so hurt. I'm sorry the things that I've said to you. I'm sorry how I've been treating you. And I can't do anything about that. And she's talking, but I'm talking, but it's it's the most clearest thing. The words are coming out of my mouth. I know that's what's going on. And so the biggest thing, rewind. What I realized when I went there is that I kept hitting my head on the ceiling. And so in my world, I was growing in business, but it was always a ceiling. It was always something that I thought it was this, I feel great, and then it wasn't that. I thought it was this, I feel great, then it wasn't that.
Right.
And I keep doing that.
Right.
And it's this experience, I sat there and it hit me so clearly. You know those flip books? You remember those flip books where you make the cartoon character, you go, and then it tells a whole story?
Yeah.
That's exactly what this experience was like for me.
Wow.
So imagine yourself, so I was on top of a huge slide.
Yep.
And I saw myself in the slide, and there was voice whispering in my ear this time you cannot forget. You cannot forget this time. You cannot forget this time. And I kept hearing it I won't forget. So then I go down this slide, flip book, all of these situations in my life that I see so clearly.
Right.
And then it ends. And then what the biggest thing that I got from there is that I always believed who I was. But then after that, I knew who I was. Because there's a difference between believing in who you are and knowing who you are.
Absolutely. Yes,
because
sir.
all of the conversations that I had with my kids before I left, I say, you should love your dad. Your dad's 10% of what he makes. Your dad is 10% of the dudes out. You get 100% dudes, and I'm 10% of and I told my kids that. But really what I was trying to express with them is I'm 10% of people who will choose to express themselves who they are, regardless of what someone would say. Because most people won't come out and say this. Most people won't come out and say, I had this experience, but my job is to show people who they know who they are. So from that, my whole thing was open. That experience was a Saturday, right?
Okay.
So I come out of that like 8 hours later. I lose my wallet in the taxi cab. I call my guy, bro. I'm like, I lost my ID. He goes, oh, don't worry, man. You just lost who you thought you were. And it was like the biggest thing in the world. The next day, I get up in the morning, the pipes burst inside this Airbnb that I'm in, right?
My God.
So I have to go to the beach. I usually go to the beach and go do my thing.
Yeah.
So I called my homegirl, Tina, who I'd met. You know what I mean? Who met? I was like, hey, can I come over there and shower? She's like, yeah, but you should probably go to the beach with me. I was like, no, I don't want to go to the beach with you. Like, I want to go do my own thing. But then I couldn't get back in change, so I ended up following her. So we're walking down the street. She's like, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go with you. I'm just going to go down this beach and I'm going to go somewhere else. So I went somewhere that I never, ever go. I go make a turn corner, left turn corner, boom, right there. There's a woman sitting there. And I'm like, literally can't even speak. I'm like, how are you? And so we just start talking. I start speaking Spanish because I speak a little Spanish. She speaks Spanish.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So she speaks Spanish. And literally, this woman was the most amazing woman that I've ever met in my life. And besides a secondary one, but she's a secondary most amazing woman that I ever met in my life.
Right.
And that experience for me, it opened me up to possibilities because I was always thinking that if you're religious, you think that, God has a bigger plan when people say that. But we only have a certain level of what we think we deserve.
Yes.
And when you know who you are, like
know your
that
value.
level
Yes.
is beyond what you could
Limitless.
think. So
Yes.
I met this girl, dude. We literally connected immediately. And she was going to be somebody I was going to be with. She was going to move here. She was a managing director of the largest hospital in Mexico that I ended up finding out later. She had properties there, just a great match and everything. But as time went on, it didn't work out. But what I'm telling you, dude, a month later, I'm going on a business trip with my one of my colleagues, and we go to Atlanta. And he's like, we're going to Atlanta. I'm like, ooh, I'm going to meet a sister in Atlanta. Like, I was all hyped. But then we found out that it was Lake Ocoee. So it's not even in Atlanta. So then I was all hyped for nothing. I was like, damn, this is whack. I'm not even going. I thought I was going to do this. So after we did this conference, I meet this dude, and we're driving back to Charlotte, North Carolina, where my brother lives at. It's 4 hours away.
Okay.
And I get on Bumble, and I see this woman, and I swipe immediately. Like, it was like I was taken aback.
Okay.
And she swiped with me because it was immediately a match. I drove to Charlotte, North Carolina, so we get there. I call her within 15. I was like, listen, I need your number. I'd like to call you. I call her within 15 minutes. Not that I call her, bruh. I FaceTime her ass. Like,
What?
no, I ain't fucking around, man. I'm like, no, there's no way in the world I'm not going to. Because here's the deal. What had opened up for me there, when you know who you are, it's like I trusted everything that happened. And
Right.
from there, from when I found out, that was March 17th that all that stuff happened in Mexico. And I went around to BNI chapters. What I was responsible for was building chapters. And most people who do these director things, they go into visitor meetings and hopefully people sign up, but nobody really signs up there. I was so effective that 3 and 4 people were signing up every time I spoke because I was telling this same story to people.
Wow.
Because people want to understand who they are.
Yeah.
That doubt that has you think like it would be nice if it happened. Most people don't understand. They think they have to have a near-death experience for that to happen, which is mostly what people happen to shift that.
Sure.
So the openness in which my life was after that, all of those things that I thought that I wanted, those things were easily coming to me because I had no obstacles blocking them. You understand? So like I was in a situation where I was receiving all of the things because I had no resistance to them because I knew who I was.
Wow.
So when I went down there, dude, I talked to her on FaceTime. It was like 2 in the afternoon. Man, I drove 4 hours to Atlanta.
No way.
Took her to happy hour
No
and
way.
drove home 2 hours later
No
and
way.
said, this is it. And since then, man, I mean, what I found out, like, got engaged December 31st. Woman of my dreams.
The same one?
Same one. Woman of my dreams. And not the one I met in Atlanta.
Yeah, that's what-
Nicole.
yeah, yep.
And woman of my dreams. And I can tell you this, man, since the realization of who I am, all of my conversations are so much more connected because I have no time for small talk or inauthentic interaction because life is too short
Way too short.
for me to shortchange the ability to create anything with any conversation. Because any inauthentic conversation is me essentially saying that nothing can be created right here. And that's absolutely impossible for that to be. So me going around for BNI, so my expression of how I grow business or how I live my life is, how can I put myself in a position where I'm doing what I'm great at all the time? My business partner, who's great at systems and processes and the daily management, I'm great at the roadmap, the creating the vision and the structure and the people who need to be in those positions. I am good at that. But my biggest strength is to be able to articulate the power of clarity and how it equals currency for today's business owner. And because everybody's...
Say that again.
Clarity equals currency, man. Like
clarity equals currency.
Because everybody is doing the same thing. Whether you're a real estate agent, whether you're a business owner, what are you doing? People are not clear about where they're going.
Right.
You're helping them clear. Hey, I got bugs. Well, let me help you get clear about how you can get rid of bugs.
Right.
So the clarity equals currency. And so you can apply that to business, but I apply that to my life. If I'm not clear, if I'm not doing those things on a daily basis that support my clarity, then I cannot make the money that I want to make. And I cannot provide that for others.
Right.
So selfishly, I need to be selfish. So when my friends text me and want to talk about all the stuff that's wrong, which I get caught up into in this daily world, I have to reject that because that doesn't create clarity for me. Because that means that I'm focused on things that are obstacles versus things that I can create clarity, which will in turn help other people as well as myself.
Dude, take a breath. Take a breath.
My mouth is...
That was crazy.
I'm dry mouthed.
No, that was awesome. That was awesome. I got so much from that. One of the things that was very clear to me was you realize your value. You realize your value, right? I tell people that we all, it's kind of easy for us to think that we're worth something, right? Because we're just humans, but know your value, right? Because once you know your value, like you're saying, you approach every moment of your life different, right? With a certain perspective on knowing who you are and your value. So I commend you for that. That's awesome.
Man,
and then it sounds like, once those doors started opening up, also knowing your value, you're able to walk through with your lion. I call it the inner lion, right? Your inner lion was awake. Your inner lion was let loose. Your inner lion was roaring, right? When I say your inner lion was roaring, that means those obstacles that were still, they no longer bothered you because you had the power to roar at it, move aside, right? Then the last thing, Robert, that I appreciated from your story was you're guarding your energy, right? That's what I say. I guard my energy. I don't have time, exactly what you're saying. I don't have time for a lot of nonsense. I don't sit around and talk about, if it's not bringing a positive aspect to my life, I don't have time for it, really. You know what I mean? Because I'm guarding my energy. If we all sat around this table and talked about gas prices and, eggs or, all these little things, right? I know they exist. Right? Because we're alive, right? But I don't have time to dwell on them. I don't have time to put energy into that. That's what I heard you say, and that's awesome. Tell me more.
I just wanted to tell you this one part that I forgot to add on. So when I was talking about my kids, I forgot to tell the story. So before I left, I told my kids, hey, your dad is 10% out there, really 7% if I want to be real, but really close to 5%, but we don't want to get numbers. But
we're rounding up.
But what I told them is that what I realized when I saw the flip book was that so many things in this world are meant to dim our lights. And so, that's the part I forgot. There's only 26 letters in the alphabet, but if you look at back in the historic times, that's my experience that I had in my experience. I saw like the hieroglyphics, right?
Yes.
Because there were no words, there was just communication, and it was nonverbal. So what's happened is that there's communication broken down in the letters that make us still smaller than we are. So we're broken down to these small letters, and even our kids. So I was crying because I realized all my kids are even less than 26 letters because they're like LOL, like even it's even less. So when I came back to my kids, I'm like, oh my gosh, what I realized is that the reason why I know who I am is because I refuse to dim my light. Because my daughters, they might be good at javelin. My daughter's really great at track and hurdles and javelin. Dimming their light means if they go practice over there in the corner when everybody else is not practicing, they don't do it because those people want to dim their light. I go, so you can't dim your light. And I'm choosing to keep my light bright. Even though there's people when you sense that they don't want that, but like keeping your light bright and understanding that when you're checking your phone and all of these things that you're seeing, they're meant to dim your light.
Yes.
So if you understand that they're meant to dim your light and you keep your light bright, that's what your whole challenge in life is. It's like, I want to wake up and have a bright light and understand that all of these things around there are kind of meant to dim your light because individuality is the light. That is the brightest light to speak on your own. You don't need anybody else to quantify what your value is or who you are, you know? So the kids knowing that my choice is to choose to be the light regardless. Wow. That's my choice. Wow. That's why I'm in a small percentage. It's not because of how much money I make. It's not because who I am. It's because my choice is to not to dim that light regardless.
Absolutely. Because who's in control of your light?
Me?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And anytime we allow someone to put a shade over our light, we have allowed them. We've given them the power to do that.
Yep.
I love that. I love that. Tell me more. What are you doing today? What are you doing now? All that through that journey, that transformation that you made. So it was a tangible change, is what you're saying, mentally.
Yes.
Right?
Man, and think about how many creative ideas come from that, you know? Because when you know you are, it's like there's no wrong decision, right? It's like, oh, this didn't work because there's never been a plan that we've all had where you had an ultimate goal and it went exactly the way we thought it was to get to that goal. It never happens that way, right? Sure. So my goal is to be, how can I be even kill in the path, but clear about what my ultimate goal is.
Love it.
And so that was allowing me to create that roadmap that I have for success.
Okay.
And that's what I provide for business owners. So what I've done is just basically translate I like to say, what I've done is just package and structure my experience as a business owner in a way to support business owners on their journey. Because I have a business coach, you know what I mean? It's like, I got somebody who I talk to and be like, man, I'm struggling, you know what I mean? But the accountability is everything. And then really, a lot of the things have nothing to do with business, but it's really business owners. We're the biggest bottlenecks to our success. So it's usually never the company, it's the business owner who's the bottleneck. So I love working with the individual business owners to help them not be that bottleneck. And it's usually surrounded around time management, structure, and process of what they're doing in their personal life and that discipline. Yep. And that's the stuff that I love because, like I said, represences it all the time for me. Yeah. So these clients that I have allow me to be on my game.
Hilarious? Yes.
Because let me tell you something, that's what, I'm gonna get in this real quick. This is something I've always felt. I'm a conservative black man. Okay. Yep. So I understand what it's like to be a minority on each side. And what I'm saying is that I appreciate the standard.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, a black dude might have to work harder to get in some positions.
Yep.
I love the standard.
Sure.
Okay, because guess what? That means I'm setting the standard.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't give a damn about that shit. So to me, that's what I'm talking about. Like that standard of being held accountable by the clients that I say that I want them to do. Right. And me being that. Yeah. I'm holding that standard,
crazy?
Man. I want that.
I tell people all the time, it's two-way street.
Hell yeah.
When I say something to you, I'm saying it back.
I'm like mirror. I tell my group, like when I'm standing up and it seems like I'm preaching, just pretend you're all mirrors. Yeah. Because I'm literally talking to me.
Yes. I say that all the time.
Yeah.
I say that all the time. And we have to remind ourselves, and we have to redo it and you know what I mean?
Over and over again.
We don't. It's not a magic formula.
No,
you know what I'm saying? And so I definitely know that firsthand exactly what you're talking about. And some people say, oh well, if you're saying it or if you're trying to teach it, then if you haven't conquered it, if you haven't, come on, man. That's not how life works.
People want business. What I found in my years of consulting is that business owners want you to be honest that you deal with the same things.
Yes.
If you're married, like if you think about all of these marriage counselors, so many of them are divorced.
Oh yeah.
I kind of would lean towards a divorced marriage counselor. Like you know what not to do.
Right.
And you've maybe learned from your mistakes and maybe can see other aspects.
Exactly.
So it's the same thing. It's like, but that's where it comes down to it. Think this when we're working backwards here, John, this is so great for you to get this. To be able to get to a point where you can share authentically that you struggle with the same thing is so much work on the back end to be okay with yourself knowing that who you are. And that's counseling, that's therapy, that's conferences, that's workshops, that's weekend conversation, that's crying, that's staying at home. That's that's years and years to get to a point where you are confident enough to say, right, I deal with the same thing too. Right. Here's what you should do, right? But it's not something that's an easy thing to do. And it doesn't mean that you've arrived, because everybody's dealing with the same thing. It's who can authentically share that in a way that can put people at ease, and then put them on a path that they can correct it, because they don't even look at that like you're struggling with it. They look at, can they trust you to be real about stuff, because they're not doing that themselves.
Man, that's deep, y'all. You guys hear that? Genuine. You got to be your genuine self. Your genuine self is a way I believe you are designed, and that's part of your purpose. If you're going to move into your purpose, you'll be most effective as your normal, genuine self. Because I agree with you. That's why we share stories. You and me, we have a lot of the same methods. We share personal stories. Why? I may not have been in the same industry or the same business you have, but guess what? I've experienced failure. I've experienced things that look like it might shut me down, or I've experienced all those things. I've experienced feeling like you said you have a mentor. I've experienced when I didn't know the importance of a mentor, and I was trying to just wing it all on my own. I talked about a lot of us have skills to get something started, but do you have skills enough to maintain it, right? That's why business owners, and you and I both know, in the first couple years is when a lot of them struggle and shut down because they can't make that long haul, right? And that's why they also say after 5 years is when you really could say, I'm actually doing it, right? Before that, it's all the ups and downs, right? And the last thing I heard you say that I just want to highlight, and that is, it sounds like accountability is really big in your journey. Right? Everything.
It's
accountability.
Everything.
And one of the things that I work with when I'm working with teams is what I call it's just an accountability trail, right? If you ever in your life have an outcome that you do not want, right? Then I say, well, go back down through the accountability, because no matter what, there's always a piece that I could pick up, because I ask the question. What? Not why. Not why. A lot of us sit around talking about, why did this happen to me? Why
I never done nothing for nobody.
Why never does? No,
it doesn't.
What I ask is, what could I have done differently?
Yeah.
Because no matter what, in that entire outcome, there was a piece. There's only a little part of it that I had control of.
Right.
There's a ton of aspects in all of our lives that we don't have control over. So I'm gonna look at the part that I have control of and say, you know what, right there, in the whole process, right there, what could I have done differently? What could I have done differently? Oh, maybe I should have done that, or maybe I should have called that, or maybe I should have brought in help to get past that, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Accountability is huge, dude.
Man, because we forget, like, when you really think about it, man, we talk about Martin Luther King, we talk about all these people who make difference, but do you really understand the difference that a man, a woman who is resolved can make around the people around them? One person can change their family. One person's responsible can totally transform the environment around them. And the minimization of doom, the brighter your light is, the more that you illuminate others. And so you really look at it as like, that's why the light is always trying to be, they're trying to dim it, because you don't illuminate others. Because you can affect so much by that. You can affect so much. The three things that before we get out, the three things I want to be, that people I look for, and that is like my North Star, the three qualities that I believe that are so integral into success is coachability,
teachability, yes.
hard work,
yes, work ethic,
and humility.
Stay humble.
Because you've seen a coachable and hardworking athlete, right, who's not humble. It's different. Or you've seen a coachable humility guy who doesn't have the hard work. So when you think about those things, those are all the things that apply to a successful business owner and a successful person in relationships. Because if you're humble enough to see where you're strong, where you could have changed the way that was gone, and if you're coachable enough to hear somebody else tell you something, and if you're hardworking enough to be able to work through that, no matter what that is, you got the trifecta. And every business, every client that we have, they have those three qualities. And if they don't, we don't even mess with them, and we can tell that from the conversation. And when you're looking at somebody you want to be with in a relationship, you check those three things, because those are the three things that I want to live towards all the time, because they tend to cover all the bases, at least in my experience.
Robert, say those three things one more time so we all can get it clearly.
Being coachable
and teachable.
Coachable, hard work. No, not teachable, because teachable is more like, I'm telling you to do that. Coachable is like, here's some options, and I think maybe there's a different vibe with a coach versus a teacher, right? So coachability, a hard worker.
Hard worker.
And honestly, my weakness is hard work.
Sure.
So I'm coachable and I'm humble.
Yeah.
But I could put a fire under my ass sometimes. I tend to be a little lazy.
Yeah.
And I will admit that. And I really want to. And so
Self-awareness.
That's why I have the block schedule, because the block schedule holds me accountable for what I said I would do that week, so I can actually measure my laziness.
There you go.
So that's really important, that implementation in the business owner. But coachability, hard work, and humility. Because you have to look at, no matter where you get, there's always an opportunity to get to a different place. And no matter what mess up the sale you didn't close, guess what? I'm responsible for the sale I didn't close.
That's right.
I could have said something.
That's right.
I could have done something different. And that humility is very important.
Sweet. Thank you, man.
No, thank you.
Dude, I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
You're my guy.
I don't know if they can see us, but don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Hey, this is the Onealien Show. This is Robert Reed, a good longtime friend of mine who stopped by to say hi, share his story, share his journey. He is a person who I consider a success, and you guys know success is individual. Nobody could determine what your success is but you. Okay, and I think that Robert would call himself a success because he knows his value, number one, right? Because he's coachable. He found an accountability partner, right? Because he has hard work ethic, and he's put things in place to make sure he stays on track, is what I heard you say.
Yep.
Because a lot of us could fall, especially being business owners, dude. You have to be disciplined with your time.
Gosh, man.
Like I could, like there's days when I could just chill and do nothing, real easy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Discipline, right? And then lastly, you guys know I preach on it all the I speak on it all the time, and that's humility, staying humble. So if there's any of those three things that you may want to get some insight on or dig deeper in, hey, reach out to me. I can get you in contact with Robert, okay? And he and his team could talk to you about any of those types of things. He's doing good work out of this community, and I appreciate him. He's one of my friends, and I brought him in here to talk to you. So this is the Onealien Show. We're done. We're wrapping up. We're taking our last sips. We're telling good stories and enjoying our journey. We're living our best life, people. All right? If you want to live yours, hit us up. Look for me all over. I'm everywhere. www.theonealien.com, The Onealien Show, all social media and everything. I don't even hardly go on there. I got people helping me out because it's crazy. There's a lot of stuff to do, man.
Yes, there is,
There's a lot to do. Find people to help you so you can get it all done. Robert Reed, dude.
Thank you.
Man, I love you, bro.
Love you too,
That's
man.
my friend. Onealien Show, we're out. We'll see you guys next time.